Hello, fifth graders, and welcome to your language arts lesson for today. As usual, for these poetry assignments, you're going to need your poetry book, a dictionary, whether online or physical, and paper pencil if you've been writing down your answers. So if you need to pause and go get those things, go ahead, and then come on back. All right, fifth graders. So those of you who are working with me, you saw we started. I'm picking right up with question 10, by the way, in yesterday's homework. So we worked on the first one together, right? And this description of how if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. Now we see these next two lines that maybe you described. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. So this is describing being confident in yourself, even though other people maybe have doubts in your ability to do things, doubts that you can accomplish what you want. So if you can stay true to yourself, even though other people are doubting, and then to make allowance for their doubting too. It's basically saying, even if people doubt you, you don't let that bug you. You don't let it be that you're mad at them. You're kind of like, you know what? You can doubt me. I don't doubt myself, right? So you allow them to have those feelings, but then don't let it affect your own feelings. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, this is really about staying patient, right? Or being lied about. Don't deal in lies. So saying just because other people are lying about you, don't start lying about other people too, right? Don't let their lies lead you to start lying. Same thing of being hated, don't give way to hating. So just because other people are hating you, don't you start hating. And yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. And so this is really talking about trying to act superior to others. So that even if you're rising above it, right? Even if you're trying to be patient or not lying even though others are lying, or not hating even though others are hating, don't let that make you feel like you're superior, right? But I'm better than everyone, right? I have more wisdom, I'm so much greater, right? This is about kind of keeping humility in spite of maybe the ways in which you seem to be rising above the behavior. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, this is really about if you're able to have dream, and this isn't like nighttime dreams, right? This is like your hopes for the future, right? So if you can have dreams but not make them your master. So he's saying it's great to have dreams, but you shouldn't be so fixated on your dreams that you are unable to see anything else, right? You're so focused. I want to be, I don't know, on American Idol or something, right? And so then I skip everything else. I don't go to work. I don't take care of my family. I don't get sleep. I don't get exercise, right? All these things that would be making my dream my master. So dream, but don't let it overtake you. If you can think and not make thoughts your aim. So this idea of it's good to have thoughts, but don't just stop at thoughts, right? The goal shouldn't just be to have the thoughts. It should be to move on to action, right? So think, but don't stop there. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same. So talking about whether you do really well, whether you fail, face both of those things and treat them the same, right? You shouldn't let them become your defining characteristics, right? We're not just the things that we've succeeded at or just the things we've failed at, okay? If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools. So if you can have people take the words that you've used and use them against you or twist them, but you can bear it, right? Bear it means to not get overwhelmed or upset or angry about it. Or watch the things you've given your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. So this idea that maybe as you're trying to pursue something, right, you're trying to do things with your life, if you can see that this goal that you were working towards crumbles, and then you just bend over and start over again, right? Here I go again. It's still going to keep working to it. If you can make a heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. So this is again about like the things you're pursuing in life, right? Let's say you desperately want to be an author. And so you put everything into it. You put your time, your energy, your money into trying to become an author. And you risk it and you take a book to a publisher and they say, nope, we're not going to publish your book. Okay? But then instead of, falling in despair, instead it's start over. Start again. Maybe write a new book. Maybe edit that book, right? And don't complain about your failures. Just keep on working. Start over again. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. This is really about your heart is like your drive, your nerve, your sinew. This is about your strength. This is about your courage. This is about the things that push you. So there are times in your life where you will be so exhausted and you think, I can't take it one more day. And he's telling us in those times to just keep going, even if it feels like you have no more strength, no more courage, no more hope left. But he's saying, hold on with just the will that says, I'm going to keep doing it. Even though I don't think I can go another day, I'm going to do it. Even though I know it can't. And I think some of you maybe think that, right? Have you ever hit that moment as we're living through this time of life where you think, I don't think I can do another day of distance learning? But then you do it, right? You just dig in and do it. Or I don't think I can spend another weekend in the house, but then you do it, right? These things where you just keep going, right? Hold on, and nothing else is pushing you to do it except this will, which says you can do it, right? Digging deeper. This is really about fortitude. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch. It's talking about if you can be popular, if you can be among famous people, wealthy people, all kinds of people, and still stay true to your virtue, still stay grounded, even though you're surrounded by these people who are maybe popular or wealthy or famous, but stay grounded and like the good grounded person, okay? If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much. So they're talking about keeping strength in spite of how your enemies or your friends treat you, right? Staying true to yourself, staying strong and proud. And if all men count with you is kind of saying, like, if everyone can matter, but no one person matters to you too much, where it kind of erodes your whole life. I love this last one. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, unforgiving minute, meaning a minute is a minute, right? It's not any longer than a minute. It's not any shorter than a minute. It's just 60 seconds, right? That's all it is. You can't make a minute be longer or shorter. A minute is a minute. And so he's saying, what should you do with that whole minute? Use all of it, right? 60 seconds. You're going to fill that minute with 60 seconds. So use all the time that you've got. And again, he's not talking about a race. He's talking about life, right? If you can fill all of your life, which is going to be however long it's going to be, right? We can't really control how long or short our lives can be. But he's saying fill every minute of your life with all the effort that you can. Yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more you'll be a man, my son, which is really his way of saying, right, if you can do all of these things, then you'll find that the world is yours, right? You can do anything. You can face any challenge that might come your way if you're able to face challenges in this way. So he's essentially saying you won't be beaten down by challenges in life if you can do these things. So I've kind of explained what a lot of these quotes have made, and I've kind of been giving comments, but I also want you guys to be reflecting. Some of your answers were spot on, some of them were kind of on, but not quite. Be thinking a little bit about what some of the things that I just shared about. But in the end, based on the poem, what does he find important? He's really talking about virtue, right? He's really talking about not giving up, facing challenges with courage and with virtue, and really across the board virtue, right? He's talking about being just to other people, using your temperance, using your fortitude, all of these things showing wisdom and being able to keep going in spite of life's challenges. So he's really praising living a life of virtue. And again, in the end, saying, if you can do those things, then there will be nothing in life that you are unable to face, unable to tackle. And those are the things that you can apply to it. And I will say, and I think you guys are kind of living in it right now, right? When you're younger, sometimes you think, okay, virtue. But the reality of it is that life does throw you challenges. It throws you challenges. We're living through challenges. And this is the moment when really being able to apply your virtues in facing these challenges makes you able to sustain it, makes you able to get through it. So this poem is really a poem about using your virtue in order to face the challenges that are here, that will continue to be here. And again, the more life you live, you're going to see things are going to come unexpectedly. And that's really what this is about, using our virtues to face those life challenges. So I'd love to hear some thoughts about what you guys thought about this poem. It's one of my favorite poems that we do. I love a lot of the poems we do, but that's one of my favorites. So we're actually going to switch gears to All the World's a Stage, which is by William Shakespeare. It's actually technically not a poem, which is why we see the capitalization is different here. Because poem, it's really a monologue from a play. So again, it's not actually a poem. This is just the first line from this monologue of the play. So we're going to be talking about supporting, I guess describing would have been a better objective word. Describing stages with quotes. I will be honest, there's a lot of questions in this homework assignment. I'm going to really guide you through a lot of them together. And then so to kind of model what this is going to look like, and then you'll be able to go on your own. So with that in mind, I'm going to flip you around so that you can see the questions, and then we'll get into reading and practicing. So the first questions are just like we've been doing. Poem title, author, vocabulary, rhyme scheme. 6 is a multiple choice. How many stages does Shakespeare describe? Spoiler alert, actually, as we go through the form, that question's going to be answered for you. So he begins the speech with 2 metaphors. So what is one of those metaphors? So you're going to write one of these metaphors as blank, and you'll write it out. And then again, this why is it an example of a metaphor, which we've been practicing this skill. So you'll get another chance to do that. Shakespeare describes 7 stages, and so the next 9 through 22 are all going to be about that. And it's just really repeating the same thing. What is the name of the first stage? What is one quote that describes it? Name, second quote, third quote, and it's going to be the same all through 7. So we're probably going to do through 14 together. So I'll probably walk you through 9 through 14, and then you'll be able to do the rest independently. And by then you should really see the pattern that's going on here. And then at the end, we have another multiple choice. Which of the following is an example of a metaphor? And again, you'll be able to practice that skill that we've really been honing in on and trying to get some more work on. And again, I've said this, it's going to be something that you'd see on a test. So with that in mind, we're on page 22 in our poetry books. And we're going to be looking at All the World's a Stage. So All the World's a Stage from As You Like It by William Shakespeare. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant mewling and puking in the nurse's arms. Then, the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like Snail unwillingly to school. See, usually students are like, oh yeah, but this year you guys aren't creeping like Snail unwillingly to school. You're sprinting like a cheetah willingly to school. Some of you, I shouldn't say everybody, right? Everyone's kind of in a different boat there. And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered Pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, turning again toward, and his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion, sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. So when you look up your vocabulary, that's going to help with that last line, because one of the words I want you to look up is sans, which is actually a Latin word, but we use it in English as well. Okay, so with that in mind, at this point, I'm going to have you pause and go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? You're going to work on those. You know the routine on those. Some of you for number 5, by the way, have not been restating the question. You still need to be restating the question for number 5. Yeah, it's still a question, so you still need to restate it. And actually do 6. 1 through 6 you can do. I'm kind of on the fly here, even 7 and 8. Because 7, I'm talking about the beginning with 2 metaphors, and so really they're right off the bat, so you're just picking one of them. So let's go, we'll say 1 through 7 and then come back. Okay, so you should have done 1 through 7 after my sort of in and out and back and forth and whatever I was doing. So remember now, when you're doing 8, we've been practicing how to do this. We'd say it is an example of a metaphor because it compares blank to blank, which is not literally true. So you're going to fill in this answer based on whatever you put up here for number 7. It is an example of a metaphor because it compares blank to blank, which is not literally true. Okay, so pause and then come back. Okay, so I said we're going to probably do these first 3 stages together to model for you. So what is the name of the first stage? We start off with the name of the first stage is what? We see at first blank. What is it? The infant. Okay, at first, the name of the first stage is the infant. And now we need to support it with a quote. So one quote that describes this stage is, we have a few options here, and this doesn't have to be lengthy, but what does the poem tell us about the infant? I actually think it's pretty short for the infant. So I would do the whole thing, right? The first stage is, or the quote is, mewling, which is another word for crying, and puking in the nurse's arms. And puking in this case, we're thinking about an infant. So how is an infant puking? If you have younger siblings or cousins or something, you might know. Yeah, they spit up, right? So they're really talking about how babies cry and spit up all the time, which is relatively accurate when they're newborns. Okay? Okay, so then the next one, the second stage, the name of the second stage is what? It says, then the schoolboy, or the whining schoolboy would be fine too. That's you all, by the way. The second stage is the schoolboy. So one quote that describes this stage is what? There's a few more options. You could say, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. Creeping like snail unwillingly. And again, if you want to do that formatting, that's what it would look like. It also says shining morning face. And in this case, it does mean morning, like in the morning. And so this idea, like we got to think about, like you would say, I don't know, I have an evening face or something. You all have morning faces. Maybe I have an afternoon face. And then, you know, maybe my parents have night faces. And then, you know, the older you get a midnight face. So it's really talking about how they're young, a shining morning face. That would be another quote that you could potentially pick to describe this stage. Okay. The name of the third stage is what? And then it tells us what? The lover, right? One quote that describes this stage is what? What is a quote that describes this stage? Sighing like furnace, maybe. Sighing like furnace. And this is really kind of that like sentimental, like, right? When you're in love, there's just the, right? Sighing like furnace. That's what that means. An example of a simile, sighing like furnace. So the schoolboy or the lover, sighing like furnace. That word like there, making it a simile. Good. Maybe you say that he is with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrows. It's not literally eyebrow. It's more like speaking about the face, right? Sighing like furnace to the face. Okay. So 5th graders, you have 4 more stages and quotes to do. And then this last option, which I want you, as you're thinking about this one, to compare to what we have done earlier, right? I already modeled for you how to explain a metaphor in an earlier question. So use that to help guide you as you go through here. Okay. So I hope that you're like on the right track, you're feeling good, and you're going to go. And you'll see there's kind of these cues in the poem. It says, then blank, then blank, then blank. So, or like last or sixth, even it labels it for you. Okay, so you want to be thinking about those cues that you're getting and look at the vocabulary. A lot of these words are not words we would use today. So reference the vocabulary as you're getting to things like what is capon or what is pantaloon or things like that, right? If you look at the vocabulary I've provided for you, it's really going to help a lot. Okay, so you should be on your way. I'm excited to see. I'm kind of sad we're not in person. I like doing this lesson together in person, and it's harder to do virtually, but I am still eager to see what you guys have. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.